You call your dog over, and they come. But then they do something that, if you really think about it, is a little strange. They sit down right next to you, close, almost touching, and then they turn around, so their back is facing you. They're not walking away. They're not leaving. They've chosen to be right here beside you, and yet they've pointed themselves in the opposite direction, rump against your leg, eyes scanning the room ahead, as if they've decided to ignore you entirely. It's easy to take this personally. It can feel like a snub, a small rejection, your dog choosing to face away from you when they could be looking at your face. But here's the truth, and it completely reverses the way most people read this moment. When your dog sits with their back to you, they are very likely paying you one of the highest compliments in their entire behavioral language. Facing away from you is not your dog ignoring you. In many cases, it is your dog trusting you more deeply than almost anything else they do. Stay with me, because near the end I'll explain the one time a turned back might mean something different, and how to tell the warm version from the one worth a second look. Let's start with why this stings a little, because the feeling is completely understandable. We're human. For us, turning your back on someone is loaded with meaning. It can signal that you're upset, dismissive, that you've withdrawn. We carry an entire social rule book that says facing someone means engagement, and facing away means rejection. And without meaning to, we project that rule book straight onto our dogs, but your dog is not running on human social rules. They don't share our assumptions about what facing toward or away from someone means. A dog's body language has its own grammar, shaped by tens of thousands of years of evolution as a social, group-living animal. And in that grammar, the turned back means something almost opposite to what it means for us. So the very first thing to let go of is the instinct to read this as a slight. Your dog isn't giving you the cold shoulder. They are doing something far older and far warmer than that. To understand it, we have to think about what the world looks like through the eyes of an animal whose ancestors had to survive it. To understand the turned back, you have to understand how a dog experiences safety and threat. For most of canine evolutionary history, danger could come from anywhere, and an animal had to stay constantly aware of its surroundings. One of the most vulnerable things any animal can do is take its eyes off the environment and turn its back on open space, because that's the direction a threat could come from unseen. Watching your surroundings is survival. Turning away from them is a risk. Now hold that thought, because it reframes everything. When your dog turns their back to you, they are turning their most vulnerable side, their blind spot, toward you, and pointing their eyes and their attention out at the rest of the room. Think about what that arrangement actually means. They are not turning away from you to dismiss you. They are positioning themselves so that they can watch the world while keeping you safely at their back. In the language of an animal whose survival once depended on never being caught off guard, choosing who gets to be behind you is one of the most significant choices there is, and they've chosen you. This is where the behavior becomes genuinely moving. In a social, group-living species, individuals who trust each other will often arrange themselves so they're facing outward in different directions, covering more angles between them. It's a cooperative posture. Each one trusts the other to watch the space they can't see themselves. When your dog sits facing away from you, they are, in effect, slotting the two of you into exactly that arrangement. You watch my back, the posture says, and I'll watch yours. For your dog to do this, they have to trust you completely. They have to feel certain that the human behind them is not a threat, that you won't startle them, won't hurt them, that you are, without question, on their side. A dog does not turn their unguarded back to someone they're wary of. They simply don't. So the act of settling down and facing away from you is your dog declaring, in the clearest body language they have, that you are not a danger to be monitored. You are a trusted partner to be protected. They've taken the watching of their blind spot, one of the most safety-critical jobs in their instinctive world, and handed it to you. That's not rejection. That's a job assignment given only to the most trusted member of the team. Let me ask you something before we go on. When your dog faces away from you, are they relaxed and settled, leaning back into you, or do they seem tense and alert, like they're on guard? Keep that difference in mind, because near the end, it tells you something important. There's another layer to the turned back, and it's about protection. Many dogs who face away from their person aren't just relaxing, they're keeping watch. By pointing themselves outward, toward the door, toward the room, toward wherever something might approach from, they're putting themselves between you and the rest of the world. Your dog has positioned their own body as the thing that meets whatever comes first, with you safely behind them. This is the same instinct that, in a more obvious form, makes some dogs plant themselves between their owner and a stranger, or face the door when the family is settled at home. The turned back is a quieter version of the same devotion. It's your dog taking up a sentry position, facing the uncertain world so you don't have to, content in the knowledge that you've got the one direction they can't see. We should be careful not to over-romanticize every single instance. Dogs also simply find comfortable spots and settle. But when your dog repeatedly chooses to sit pressed against you, facing out, the pattern speaks for itself. They've made themselves your lookout. And an animal only volunteers to guard what they've decided is worth guarding. Not every turned back is about standing guard. Sometimes it's about something even softer. The simple, profound ease of feeling so safe that you can switch off. Remember that for a dog, facing away from open space means letting their guard down. When your dog turns their back to you and then truly relaxes, maybe leaning their weight into you, maybe letting out a long sigh and settling their chin down, they're doing something they would never do if they felt even slightly unsafe. They're powering down their vigilance in physical contact with you, facing away from the room, completely at peace. Think about how much trust that takes. They've decided that with you behind them, they don't need to watch their own back at all. They can let the most exposed part of themselves rest against you and simply be calm. That's not a dog ignoring you. That's a dog so secure in your presence that they've stopped standing guard over their own safety because they've outsourced it entirely to you. In a way, this is the deepest version of the whole behavior. The turned back, relaxed and trusting, is your dog saying, I am completely safe with you, safe enough to stop watching, safe enough to let go. Now think about who gets this. In a home with several people, or a room full of guests, watch where your dog chooses to plant themselves and which way they face. They don't turn their unguarded back to just anyone. They'll often pick one person to settle against, facing away, and that choice is anything but random. Turning your back on someone, in a dog's instinctive world, requires trusting them not to be a threat. So a dog reserves this posture for the humans they feel safest with. The turned back follows the bond. So if your dog crosses the room, sits down against you specifically, and faces away, understand the weight of what they've just done. Out of everyone available, they've chosen you as the one person they can be vulnerable in front of. They've decided you're the one they trust to have their back, in the most literal sense. A dog has limited ways to show the depth of their trust, and offering you their unguarded side is one of the most eloquent. When they give it to you and not to the others in the room, they're telling you something about your place in their world that words could hardly say better. You are their safe direction. Now, the part I asked you to stay for, because context always matters. Almost always, a dog facing away while relaxed and close to you is the warm, trusting behavior we've been describing. But it's worth knowing the handful of times a turned back can mean something different, so you can read the whole picture. The key, as always, is the rest of your dog's body and what's normal for them. A relaxed, turned back, soft body, settled, leaning into you, is trust. But if a dog turns away with a stiff, tense body, or actively moves away and faces off whenever you approach or try to touch them, that's not the same signal. That can be a dog asking for space, or a sign they're uncomfortable, and it's worth respecting and paying attention to. There's also the matter of change. If a dog who always loved facing you and being sociable suddenly starts turning away, withdrawing, and seeking distance in a way that's unlike them, that shift itself is worth noticing, because dogs who aren't feeling well will sometimes withdraw. As with everything on this channel, the message is in the change. A relaxed back turned toward you is one of the loveliest compliments your dog can pay you. A new pattern of tense withdrawal, especially with other changes, is the kind of thing worth a calm conversation with your vet. You know your dog's normal better than anyone. So the next time your dog comes over, sits down against you, and turns to face away, resist the urge to feel snubbed. Look closer at what they've actually done. They've taken the most vulnerable, unguarded part of themselves, the side they can't protect, the side every instinct tells them to keep toward safety, and they've turned it toward you. They've appointed you the keeper of their blind spot. They've made you their lookout partner, or laid down their guard entirely because your presence alone is enough to make them feel safe. And out of every direction they could face, every person in the room they could turn their back on, every safe spot in the world, they chose to put their trust in one: you. They didn't turn their back on you, they turned their back to the world, for you. They will always choose you to guard. If this changed the way you see that turned back, leave a like and subscribe. Every video here is built on what the science actually says, and honest about where it runs out, not on what we simply assume. And tell me in the comments, does your dog sit facing away from you? And now that you know what it means, does it land differently? And if you've ever wondered why your dog brings you things, a toy, a sock, something random, and drops it at your feet, that's the next video. What they're actually doing is more touching than you'd guess.